Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got my friend Frank Sanders of Alaska Trophy Outfitters on the phone. Frank, how you doing?
Oh, just trying to stay out of trouble. How about you, Jay?
That's hard for you.
I know. Once all the clients are done and the dust settled, I start chasing stuff myself. So.
Yeah. I saw you've been hunting all around. The last time I saw you, you had been to Mexico with us coos deer hunting last January, and we had a ball down there in Sonora.
Right.
It was a lot of fun down there. How did your seasons go up in Alaska?
Well, we didn't see as many animals as I saw bucks in Mexico, I can tell you that. That's freaking astounding. I tell people how many bucks we saw down there, and they don't believe me. But anyway, we had a really good year. It was an even year, and so for those who don't know, one of my primary species is brown bear, and on even years we hunt the Alaska Peninsula, and then it'll be open again this coming fall. So essentially, it gets about 16, 18-month break there. But we had a freaking tremendous spring. It started out, it was a warmer spring, and I thought, man, it's really going to take off. Not a lot of snow, and in all honesty, the first few days were really slow. But when it started, I mean, it went wide open.
What was the changing factor? Was it just it warmed up enough and the bears came out, or what?
I'd like to act like I'm smart enough and had a good answer for you. And, typically I can think about something, it's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I honestly don't know, because there really wasn't a lot of times you'll have cold, and all of a sudden you get a warm snap. And, I mean, you can literally, the grass comes out, as you guys are aware of, we have 20-plus hours of daylight. And so, all of a sudden, the grass is shooting out of the ground, it's warm, you think, okay, here they come. But there really wasn't anything, in particular. It was still kind of cool. It didn't get real warm, but didn't get real cold. It just, I honestly don't know what happened. I really don't. We went from seeing a couple bears to my first hunter. I think he shot on day 4, and I stayed in camp because my next hunters didn't come in till, it was obviously, a week later. And then those guys, I had a couple guys, they shot on day 1 and day 3. And good bears. We averaged, all of our bears were over 9 foot this year. And actually, it was odd. The 2 biggest scold bears we killed were actually both 9'1", but old bears.
So when bears get to a certain age, their skulls will still be giant, but their bodies just start getting a little bit smaller. I mean, 9'1" still a giant, but is that kind of how it works?
It must be, because you look at some of these bears, especially some of the bears we kill on Kodiak, where it seems like they start to regress a little bit. You wouldn't think a hide would get any smaller, and bears are more in that way people-like. They all vary. You've got the long, lanky guys that comparable to like a basketball player, that are going to go over 10 foot, but they're lean. On the peninsula, we call those moose killers.
The dark Holborn bears.
I wouldn't go that far. Maybe Jay Piper.
Shots fired, right?
Right? Yeah, just this short.
So you got
stout,
the Shaquille O'Neal of bears and then the dark Holborn of bears. That's what you're saying, and they're both adult men.
Exactly.
But let's back up a second, Frank. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I better be careful. I might have to go hunt with Dar again, so we got to be careful on that one.
Yeah, you don't want to hack him off too bad. Let's back up a second. So you offer brown bear hunts, and then you also do grizzlies or only brown bears? And explain. You have a couple different areas, or tell us, kind of fill us in on that.
I do. And things have changed just a little bit, and we're working on the changes right now. But in a nutshell, I do brown bears, and I hunt the Alaska Peninsula. We do some stuff in an area called Unit 16. It's been hunted pretty hard, but they actually just regulated it again. And our last 2 hunts, we've killed real good bears. But my primary 2 areas are the Alaska Peninsula and then Kodiak. And where I more or less started was a grizzly area. And so my partner actually got that area back again. Our demand for grizzlies has been, obviously since BC shut down, it is really, really, there's been a lot of it. And so we are going to start offering some grizzly hunts. We've got the area. We have it registered, for guiding. And like I said, we're still working out the details on it. He's actually coming down here in a couple of weeks after Christmas, and we're going to get it squared away. But yeah, what we've done and where we've been, this last 15 years is, we hunt brown bears, moose, and mountain goat. And we do a few black bear hunts here and there, but our main things are brown bears. That's our big one. And then, like this year, I had 4 goat hunters, and we killed 4 real good billies, all over 9 inches. And then it was as I'll back up to where I was earlier, on the Alaska Peninsula, on these even years are the times where I sneak out a little bit in the fall, and so they're my elk years. But I still took 1 moose hunter, and he killed a great bull. And so it was a really good year. It really was.
Looking forward ahead, can people just call you up and say, hey, I want to hunt brown bear? And if so, do you have a few openings or any slots that if people were interested in hunting, they could call and talk to you more about it?
Absolutely. And, our deadline, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit, but our controlled hunt deadline is coming up. And the difference between Kodiak and the Alaska Peninsula is an over-the-counter tag. Guys can plan it. They can say, hey, I want to hunt fall of 2021 or spring of 2020, or I've got a couple openings for fall of 19. So they can do that for the guys that want to plan. A lot of guys really want to hunt Kodiak. As far as the bears go, we're killing the same size bears. Skull size is a little better on Kodiak, but, when you talk about a bear skull, you look at some of the ones we killed this year, 27 to 27 3/4. You talk about a bear being 28 and an 1/8. 3/8 of an inch difference is what we're looking at Kodiak. But some guys want to make Boone and Crockett. But like I said, Kodiak is a draw. Our deadline's coming up here. I think it's the 17th this year. I'd have to look. It's usually around the 15th. I tell guys, hey, let's get it done early. But if guys wanted to call and talk about brown bear hunting, or even mountain goat, heck yeah, they can call.
Okay, cool. And you talked, these brown bears, you've been doing this for a long time. What was it first that got you, so pumped about brown bear hunting? I've talked to a lot of people, and they always say, once you brown bear hunt, like that's all you think about. What is it about those bears that just gets under your skin and makes it just like that's all you want to do?
It's hard to explain, because it's not like we're looking for a 380 bull or a 190 buck. I don't know. I think it's a respect factor. As well as, kind of an awe factor also. They demand freaking respect. Some of the things I've seen them do over the last, I think this is 22 years now. It just, that's got to be what it is. There's not one thing where I can say, hey, but I've had those big bears, everywhere from 2-3 yards, all the way out there, watching them, and just a really freaking cool animal. You can't.
We're talking about an animal like when you're shooting them 9 foot plus. Like we're talking what, 2,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds. Like what? If obviously you can't take a scale out there, but what are we talking? 1,000 pounds?
I would say from 1,000 to 1,200 on those those real big boars. You get into the springtime, and some of these bears, I don't know the exact number. It's said that they'll gain up to 25% of their body weight towards the fall. And so, you look at a 600-700 pound bear, it'd be close to 1,000 pounds in the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the different areas that you hunt and the different times of year, how much of your strategy is glassing? Talk a little bit about like how does What are they, 10-day hunts or 2-week hunts? How long are they, and kind of what is a day of brown bear hunting consist of, whether it be spring or fall, and if there's differences?
You spend the majority of your time behind glass. One thing that I tell a lot of hunters is we're not going to go, marching up and down these valleys and, looking behind this, alder bush and behind that little ridge. We're going to spend a lot of our time sitting. And I tell a lot of people, tons of people can relate to whitetails. And I said, they're the same, if not, they have a better nose than a whitetail. I said, you bump them once, you might see them again. You bump them twice and never see them again. And so, a typical day, we're going to get up, especially in the spring. Sometimes people a little later in the morning. We'll glass first thing. Majority of the bears we see are late at night. But most every camp we have, other than one, we've either got a rock outcropping, a higher ridge and knob. And a lot of these camps, I started in these camps in 1996. They're what we call nests because we spend so much time in these spots. And occasionally you get somebody who looks at you and they're like, why are we doing this? I said, because it frickin' works. And so the majority of our time is spent. It's on our smart end. Most all the camps are wall tents. And so we've got some good comfortable camps. Go back, kick back in the tent. If you want to change your gear out or hang it up to dry it, do that, have lunch. And a lot of times we'll have a packer along. So there's almost always somebody on glass. Because I'm sure, as you've seen, you're 4 or 5 days into a hunt that seems, I don't want to say tedious, but it can seem tedious. And literally in 20 seconds, it went from the most boring and tedious hunt in the world to the best hunt in the world. But yeah, they're all 10-day hunts. That's 10 full days. Guys fly into camp the day prior, fly out the day after. And most of our camps, like I mentioned, are wall tents. On Kodiak, we do use some standard tents. And I'm actually working with the state right now to look at getting permitted to do some structures there. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, even Kodiak, same thing. You fly into Kodiak, and then we just fly straight out of town. The float plane, on all the Alaska Peninsula hunts, they are all accessible via Super Cub. And so hunters fly into Anchorage and catch a commuter flight to Kenai, where I pick them up, and typically we'll stay overnight there, fly out the following day, and we'll either go straight in a Cub, depending on the camp, or we'll shuttle out. Hunters can we'll send either a beaver or a bush hawk out, and then from that point we'll have a shuttle strip, and we'll shuttle them into camp with a Cub. And all those hunts are also all one-on-one. And that's, there's nobody else in the camp. Also, when a hunter books that brown bear hunt, he has that camp to himself. He's not sharing it with anybody. No.
I know you get asked this question a lot, but, typically, what's your success rate in hunters having the opportunity to harvest a bear?
Knock on frickin' wood, like I am right now. I've only had 2 hunters that have not shot bears. One of them had opportunities, and he was looking for a true giant bear. And then the other was one this spring, and he never had an opportunity. He couldn't hunt the whole time frame, but I told him come the latter part, and like I said, he had to leave early. And so, whether he would have got an opportunity then, for the guys who stayed the whole time, we shot 100% bears. And, but yeah, as for that one, that's the only ones. And like I said, hard to say, but as well as things went, I'm pretty frickin' sure he would have shot a bear. So, yeah.
You spend half the year or some of the year in California. Have any of those fires gotten anywhere close to you, or have you had any effects of those fires?
Last year, the big fires, the Tubbs fire and the one that came from Santa Rosa, got close to the house, and I was actually in Alaska through almost November 1st, and she had to evacuate a couple times, mandatory. And then this year, None of them have been real close to us. The closest one is Chico, obviously the Paradise Fire, which everyone's well aware of. And I went to school in Chico, and so I've got some friends in the area, and actually have a few friends that lost everything, every freaking thing. But as far as us, being right here, no, it's we're a little ways away from it. But it's
this fall I saw you did quite a bit of hunting. Where were you bouncing around, and did you have some good times? What were you hunting?
I did. I had best laid plans with some odds that I had and points I had. I mean, I had it all figured out, and we all know what happens to best laid plans. And so after finding out I didn't draw a few tags, I cashed in my Wyoming antelope points and shot a beautiful antelope with my bow. I chased some elk around, and speaking of fires, I got burned out of my first area, so I went to another area and got in a day and a half, and it caught on fire. So I started to think that maybe I have something to do with this problem. But then I took off and went down to New Mexico and chased elk around with a muzzleloader, which was the very first for me, which was fun. We shot a nice 6-point bull, and then went to Colorado last month with actually one of the guys who's hunted bear with me and moose, and got really lucky. Killed a really nice deer.
Tell me about it. I'm not sure I saw it.
It was kind of
a mule deer or whitetail?
Yeah, mule deer. So I went for the last 3 days of season. I was on the very border of the east side, and I'll back up a little bit. I haven't been shooting my bow much because I had some shoulder issues, and the doctor said, hey, let's try something here. And so I laid off the bow, and of course I take this gun that's sighted in for 4,000 yards and all this, and I shoot this buck at 50 yards, cringing, because I wish I had my bow. But I passed up quite a few bucks, a lot of bucks in the area, and it was the third day, last day, midday. Went and took a walk up and came out across this little bluff, and instantly see this bush shaking. I mean, like I said, 50 yards away. So, even I was smart to figure out, well, it's probably a buck. And so I knelt down, and all I saw was his top end, and that's all I needed to see. The outfitter was there, and it was funny because he said I was kind of picky, joking around, great guy. And he said, you're awfully picky, because I'd passed up so many bucks. And this buck lifted, I saw its top end. And he said the funniest part was we'd seen the deer for about 4 seconds, and I said, I'm going to shoot that one. He goes, what? I said, I'm shooting that one. He goes, well, let's get a better look at it. I said, there's no need to keep looking. And he's a really unique buck. The pictures don't really do him justice because he's only 23 outside and I think 18 inside. But his back tines are, I want to say his twos are around 19, and his threes are around 15. Yeah. And what I thought was lacking, which I didn't care, it didn't matter to me at that point, was, we got up to him and he actually got bigger and bigger. I'm sitting there staring at him. Where his main beams looked really short, and I thought, well, that's too bad. I thought he might even been a 3-pointer when I first saw him with, just giant backs. And what really fooled me was when I put a tape on him, and the main beams are 20, I thought they were about 18 and 20, and they were 24 and 22. And
gotcha.
A great buck.
Heavy buck?
Yeah. He's not massive, but, he sure is not spindly, I'll tell you that. So, one of the better bucks I've ever killed, for sure.
Well, how'd the blacktail at home, usually you have some pretty good blacktail hunting. How was it this year? Was it an off year? Or?
No, it was a good year. I didn't have the time like I had. This year in Alaska, I spent some more time fishing. I guided fly-out fishing trips, and so I didn't have the time, but I killed a tremendous buck right off the bat. Not a high-scoring buck, but he's got essentially like triple eye guards, and if you can call it that, one parallels the main beam, but a really good deer. And then my best friend, he killed one of the biggest bucks I've ever seen there. No, it's the biggest buck we've ever seen there. And then my cousin, he killed one that's pushing 150. And so,
wow,
really, really good year. Yeah, really good year.
Have you been duck hunting a bunch so far?
Not a ton. I've been out a few times. It's been good. California didn't get a lot of water, and so the couple times, I've had some really good invites. I just haven't been able to make it with timing, and I was in Colorado there for a few days, and missed a couple of the openers, but there's definitely some birds in now, and so no complaints. And I'm taking off tomorrow to go hunt free range odd sheep, so I'm not going to complain.
Have you done that before?
I did. I went in 2010, and this is kind of a crappy deal, but my best friend and I went, and actually one of the guides, Joe, and we went to a ranch, and my best friend actually had a heart attack on the hunt first day and passed away. And so I've always wanted to go back. We were down at Marfa, Presidio area, and so I've always wanted to go back, and it worked out this year. I was working with him, talking with a mutual friend of ours, Brendan Burns, and we were actually going to try to hunt together, but after what's happened this year with Jason and everything, some stuff's changed. So I'm going to run down there solo and see what kind of damage I can do. But, really looking forward to it, though. I know that I'm taking my bow. I started shooting about 5 days ago again after the shoulder deal, and it's shooting good enough that if I miss, it's not the bow. So.
Brendan always says you're the best shot that he knows that doesn't use a peep sight.
It is kind,
Isn't that right?
It's kind of an anomaly. Yeah, I mean it's weird, but I don't shoot a peep. I tried one time, and I shot pretty good with it. I was kind of getting used to it, and back to the blacktail thing, we had a buck that was at the time one of the best I'd ever seen. We're talking about 75 years ago when I was a kid, and he frickin' was walking an old 2-track. I mean, I had him. We didn't, this is back before trail cameras and all that, but I pretty well had him, pegged, and he walked by the stand 15 minutes into shooting light, but with the canopied oaks, he was hard to see, and I kept looking alongside, kept looking. He got by me and literally, goes 400 yards and walks, same 2-track right by the neighbor, and he killed him. And ever since then, I took the peep off, and I've never shot one. I never have.
Brendan, for Brendan to say you're the best shot he's ever seen without a peep, he says you're an unreal shot. So, I mean, Brendan's a heck of an archer himself, so I'm sure you're really good for him to say that.
Well, coming from him, I mean, that guy, we're not going to sit around kissing the breeze butt, but I'll tell you, that guy's as freaking good as they've ever been. Not as good as they get. He's as good as they've ever been. He is. Yeah, nothing but respect.
For sure.
Wow. But,
Well, man, it's awesome to talk to you, and excited for you to get down there on the Oudat after what happened with your buddy. And, it's always fun hearing your stories. We had such a good time last year in Mexico with you down there. And
that was what an awesome trip.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
If anybody wants to call and talk about the draw, like I said, it's coming up, I think, December 15th or 17th, somewhere in there. For goat or Kodiak, we've got a couple spots that opened up for Kodiak. Some guys that are swapping over, and so kind of late in the game. That's the only tough thing about our draw being when it is now. Like we're going to be at the sheep show this year, February 7th, 8th, 9th, I think. But everything we see, or everything we deal with then, is obviously post-draw. But anybody wants to talk about it, give me a holler. And I truly appreciate it, Jay, very much.
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
They can call me at the 907-252-7413, or they can email me at theoutfitalaska@gmail.com. And I know we've talked about it a little bit. I'm not sure how my service is going to be. I'm hunting for 4 days, and so essentially tomorrow, Thursday through Tuesday, I might be in and out. But yeah, if guys want to leave a message, I'll definitely get back to them as soon as I can. Like I said, I can't speak for how the service is down there, but yeah, I'll definitely call them back.
And what shows are you going to be at? You mentioned Sheep Show. I'll see you there. I'm going to be there for a couple of days. Are you going to any other shows?
I don't do a lot of shows, being a smaller outfitting business and a lot of our stuff being word of mouth. But what I typically do is I go to one or two of the shows and I'll talk with guys and meet them. So obviously I'll have a booth at the Sheep Show this year. We'll be in booth 880. But I'll also be at the Hunt Expo typically I go for 2 days. I go and, meet up with guys that I've talked to. They can put a face with the name and throw my name in the hat for all the hunts, of course. I tell my wife it's business. But yeah, so those as of right now, those will be the two I'll be at. I might make it to SCI for about a day and a half. I'm going to see what happens. But as of right now, just the Sheep Show and then the Hunt Expo there in Salt Lake.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be at both of those, so I look forward to seeing you there for sure, and it's always a great time around with you. And I want to thank you for the goat hunt that Dar and I did 2 years ago. That was a great time and a hoot, and it's always fun seeing you. I want to thank the sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com. The gear shop. My friend Cody Nelson is the optics manager. If you need anything with binoculars, spotting scopes, tripods, rifle scopes, anything to do with optics, you can give Cody a call at 702-847-8747, extension 2. You can send him an email at optics@gohunt.com. I also want to thank Kuiu Ultralight Hunting. That's Kuiu, KUIU.com. That's the gear that Dar and I wear on all our hunts. I know, Frank, you like the gear as well. Also want to thank phonescope.com. If you use the JScott18 promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount. CanyonCoolers.com, based right out of Flagstaff, Arizona. Use the JScott promo code for a 10% discount. And then OnXMaps.com. If you use the JScott18 promo code, you're going to get a 20% discount. Frank, love seeing your big bears and love talking to you on the phone. You truly have a great passion for hunting, and the excitement always on every hunt you're ever on is always fun to watch how much you love it, and it's always great talking to you. I look forward to seeing you at the Sheep Show, and have fun on the Outad hunt, okay?
All right, sounds good, Jay. Take care.
All right, buddy. God bless. Take care.
You too. Bye.